Assalamualaikum and good morning. I hope you all can hear me. I'm Zakri, the General Manager of Strategic Services And on behalf of the Malaysian Employers Federation, I'm pleased to welcome all of you to the MEF online membership drive. And this is especially for employers located in Sarawak and Sabah. So during this 2-hour session, we will feature 3 experts who will share with you very important information that relates to the Federation and the current employment situation in Malaysia. We will begin with a brief presentation on why you need to join MEF as a member. And to convince you, we have Puan Hajah Haslina Ismail, who is the Senior Manager of Membership and Strategic Communications. Next, Tuan Haji Anis Fahmy Pauzi, our highly experienced Senior OSH Consultant, will share with you on the latest developments on the occupational safety and health front. In particular, the latest amendments to the OSH Act 2022. And last but not least, Dato' Dzulzalani Eden, MEF Senior IR Consultant who is based in Kuching, will speak on some very important developments that are coming your way with the amendments to the labor laws that are taking effect. His presentation is entitled New Directions in Employment Dispute Resolution Dealing with Unfair Dismissal Claims. At the end of our session, we will have a short Q&A session where you may ask questions via the pigeonhole. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I have the pleasure to invite Puan Hajah Haslina to brief you on the benefits of becoming a member of MEF and how to join. Dipersilakan Hajah Haslina.
Okay, thank you very much, my boss, Encik Muhammad Zakri, and all of you participants today online. Salam sejahtera daripada Semenanjung Malaysia. So what we are going to do today, as being briefed by Encik Muhammad Zakri, that we will take you to know what MEF is first, prior to you being introduced or being briefed or being having a discussion with our experts in the OSH and IR. Just bear with me for perhaps around half an hour. I will take you on a virtual tour to MEF. Yeah, can you all see my slides? Okay, right now. So for MEF, perhaps some of you have heard of us before and some of you may have not. Yeah, maybe this is the first time for you. So MEF is actually the name Malaysian Employers Federation. We are the point of reference for views of employers in the country. Okay, we also express business needs of employers. Business needs here meaning the business interests of employers, not only in the human resource or industrial relations. We also cover the entire spectrum of the business needs of the employers, particularly the private sector employers. Yeah, we also represent Malaysian employers, be it to the government, yeah, and then even to the mass media when they want to get the views of employers. MEF will be reached. Yeah, okay. Now, so in short, what are we? MEF is actually the place for you, the employers, yeah, the sole proprietors, or even the HR practitioners to seek advice, yeah, and personal assistance in terms of human resource and industrial relations in particular. Now, in the nutshell, we can say that MEF is the central organization of private sector employers, and we get the recognition at the national, regional, and international levels. And we were established way back in 1959. Yeah, we are already 63 years old, maybe much older than all of you, out there, online. Okay, now, so from where we are currently, like Encik Zakri, myself, we are based at the headquarters in Petaling Jaya. And as you can see on the slide, we have grown where we have 2, 4, 6 other regional or branches, yeah, where we also have branches in Sarawak and Sabah. Now, where we claim ourselves to be the spokesperson of the private sector employers in particular, yeah, at the national level. I'm going to share with you these two slides. As you can see, the first point there, NLAC, and then second point is NWCC. So over there, you can see that MEF is the representative on behalf of the employers when the government formed this council, okay, like the National Labour Advisory Council. It is captained or headed by the MOHR, where the employers' views will be getting it from MEF, and for the union and the MTUC, QPEX will be representing the employees. So that is the highest body or council discussing labor matters in the country. And for the second point, the NWCC, of course, I think for the last 1 or 2 years, you've heard about these minimum wage issues and whatnot. So there is a council discussing those wages issues and so on and so forth. As you can see, EPF, MPC, NOYOSH, HRDC, dan sebagainya. We even have members or representatives in the SOCSO Appellate Board, TVET, dan sebagainya. Okay, now, at the regional level, we are a founder member of ACE, ASEAN Confederation of Employers, which was established in the year 1978. And we have 7 members now, in which, as you can see, for the regions, we have ACE and CAPE. Okay, these two organizations are actually, they are being formed or being established to discuss, for regional economic cooperation among the countries within the ASEAN and the Asia Pacific regions, So for CAPE, we were being established in year 2000, and there are 20 members within the organization, including New Zealand, Australia, Fiji, and the ASEAN EOs, employees organizations. Okay, so we go beyond the seas, where we are actually an organization or an EO established in 1920. IOE was formed, where it is being it has members from more than 140 countries, where MEF is one of the members of IOE. And every year, MEF, together with the Minister of Human Resource and the representatives from the unions, we participate in the ILC, we call it International Labour Organization, and there are actually 187 member states, representing the employers, the government, and the employees of those states in the ILC forum. Okay, now, so how do we make ourselves significant? So for MEF, we are participating very actively in the various and numerous government dialogues, and we make representation on various issues or matters, as long as it is, or we call it as the issues are actually the business interests of employers. For example, before the budget announcement, the dialogue with the MOF, and then there is also a meeting dialogue, just to name a few. So for MEF also, we also have quite regularly dialogues with business associations, industry groups, just to make sure that the views or the issues that affect the business will be brought up. So together we compile all the issues, we bring it up to the government for them to consider, right now. So for MEF, what is an association without members? Okay, so MEF is actually being established under the Registrar of Societies Act. We are an association where we have members. Okay, our members comprise of employers, be it the startups, the small, medium, microeconomic companies, or startups or setups, even to the big organizations. We have membership on the various sizes, industries, and location. Okay, now, so these are the 5 main services that we provide to members. I will go through with you of each one of them, yeah. So you look at the industrial relations, that is our core activity. And then we have big data research and information, where we conduct or we organize a media conference where we highlight our findings of survey and so on. We also have IT services. We also have OSH services, as well as training, which is also very important to us. Okay, now, before I proceed, this is something which I would like for you to pay attention, okay? When we say that members, of course, you are our members by paying annual subscription. Okay, when you pay annual subscription, you will be getting services. Okay, let me explain to you now that our services are divided into two: the free-based services, also the fee-based services. Okay, I believe, like you now, you are also a member of your association or industry groups. Of course, this category of services will be in place, I believe. Not all services are free, okay? So now let me just explain to you by you looking at the slide. The free-based services, of course, you are a member, we advise you, we guide you on IR, on OSH, on HR, by providing it by free services by phone, email. You fax to us your questions by having a members portal, which this is the IT services that we provide to you, okay? The members portal and face-to-face. Okay, so these are the free services. You can always give us a call. We also have a WhatsApp group, yeah, for you to interact with our consultants, okay? We also regularly blast email to you. Our email will comprise of, let's say, like just recently, quite recently lah, the PRU, okay? So the announcement by the government, cuti, So you will get the email being blasted to you dengan segeranya. Okay, there's no need for you to wait for, alamak, where do I get the, because you want to implement it to your office. Tapi at the same time, you would like to get advice from our consultants. You'll be getting email blast. You can also get advice from our consultant via the services that I mentioned just now, phone, email, interact through WhatsApp dan sebagainya. Regular email blast you'll be getting, even on training, yeah. Okay, now, lepas tu the third bullet there, the free-based services, simple written opinion. Kalau katakanlah in your particular case now, simple written lah opinion, maknanya contohnya, a contoh which I always like to give, you have with you a letter of offer given to newcomers, kan? Okay, letter of offer tu you inherit it from your previous HR who have been using it for the last 15 years. Contoh lah, so it's not good, kan? Jadi what you can do is you bring the sample of letter that you have been issuing to your newcomers, you bring it to our consultant. Okay, katalah in Sabah Sarawak, Dr. Zul, boleh tak you have a look at it? Ada apa-apa tak, for us to review or maybe adjust ke amend in accordance to the current practice or in accordance to the current employment law, kan? Okay, that is called simple written opinion. Kalau yang complicated tu, maybe it falls under fee-based services, okay? Right, and now monthly meetings. Of course, as an HR practitioner or as orang kata, or as an employer, you do not face problems every day, kan? Okay, now, and then you yourself would like to update, your knowledge in IR, HR. It's good for you to attend our monthly meetings. Our monthly meetings currently, I think for the last 1 year pun, we have been conducting it online, Jadi tak ada isu pun for you to attend. It's a monthly meetings, we call it. So current disputes will be discussed, and during the meeting, okay, the advantage is that you will have a very good networking with other HR practitioners. Okay, lepas tu kalau katakan there is a request from the membership, they would like to have a speaker addressing, katakanlah contohnya macam maybe on the EA punya implementation with effect from 1st January, katakanlah so we will call, katakan the JTK punya officer ke contohnya to address the meeting maybe for half an hour macam tu. So that will be held during our monthly meetings. Kalau you terlepas the meeting, never mind. You will be getting the meeting agenda dan sebagainya in our portal. Okay, now we go to the next point, which is access to MEF members portal. Of course, not only your HR manager who is the named person in our membership system to deal with us all the time. Okay, 4 persons within your organization can have access to MEF members portal. You will be given user ID password macam tu. Okay, and then of course not forgetting the WhatsApp group, which is also orang kata trending lah sekarang WhatsApp group. Everything is also through the WhatsApp. Jadi cepat dan juga dan interaktif dan sebagainya. Okay, now that is the free. Okay, what about the fee? Okay, the fee ni, you look at the first 2 points there, court representation. Okay, court representation ni meaning kalau kata your company has done macam contohnya a case ataupun a particular incident that katakan you have mungkin you terminated your staff lah katakan and then your staff not happy, dia pergi labor office, pergi report, and then you as the employer akan dipanggil Jadi kalau ada kes mahkamah, okay, kes mahkamah here we only refer to 2 case courts, which is we call it industrial court dengan labor court. For these 2 court representation, there's no need for you to run helter-skelter to look for good lawyers out there, because MEF kita ada the pool of experts within our IR team to represent you in the industrial court, labor court. Juga we can also represent you in the industrial relations department conciliation cases. Okay. Now, kenapa is fee? Because our consultants who are lawyers, they will take your case from A to Z. Okay, everything you tak payah risau, you cuma siapkan whatever is required by the IR consultant. Okay, all the documentation, the witnesses, whatsoever, semua kita akan tolong. Okay, that will be fee-based service. Dan do not worry, our fees are not that costly. Okay, you can run around and check around with other lawyers outside there who do the, we call it labor court dengan industrial court cases. They will charge you so much higher. Okay, now, and then consultancy packages, the second bullet there, it is also a fee-based service exclusively for members. Because kalau katalah contohnya, you would like us to review your handbook. Ataupun you would like MEF to do an HR or OSH audit for you. Okay, that falls under consultancy packages, because we will see the complexity of the issue, even kalau macam handbook. Either you want us to start from scratch or you want it to be reviewed, okay, for betterment, for improvement. Okay, so that's why we call it consultancy, because the price might differ. Jadi kita bagi you a fee first, and then if it's agreeable, then we go on with the service. Okay, now, okay, the other 3 the 3 bullets there under fee-based services, of course, seminars, conferences, webinars, trainings, publications, these 3 are open to members and non-members, Of course, a fee will be imposed, Tapi for those of you who are out there, yang members ataupun you contribute to HRDC, our courses are claimable because we are a registered training provider with HRDC. Okay, so I will move on to the next one. Okay, IR services, this is just to wrap up. Tadi advisory, opinion, phone, fax, email, face-to-face, WhatsApp interaction, court representation, conciliation, monthly meetings. We do training. Training kita in-house ada, public training pun ada, IR and HR audit. Okay, now, we move on to big data research and information services. Nama dia pun big data. Of course, we collect data. Okay, now, so that's where our survey service is put there. Okay, just tengok what we do. Just about, I think on 22nd November last month, just 1 or 2 weeks ago, we had our MEF media conference where we launched these 4 surveys, yeah, as you can see there. Okay, now, and then the next day, of course, the major newspapers, the mass media came out with the highlights of the survey that we presented. Okay, now, as you can see, the salary survey for executives and non-executives, these survey books are very extremely useful to the country. You know why? Because we conduct the survey throughout the country by our membership punya participation lah. Huh? Okay, now, so we collect, we tabulate, we analyze the survey, and we come up with the reports. Jadi, what does the reports entail? Okay, now, if you look at those thick reports, yeah, you can look at the macam contohnya the salary structure for macam contohnya the non-executives, the benchmark executive position. Kalau executive position misalnya what is the salary for manager lah, you know, the consultant dan sebagainya, based by location, by years of experience, by industry and so on. Dan when we come up with these reports, we also have like macam, we call it macam prediction lah. Ni prediction bukan ahli nujum biasa, but this is prediction based on the analysis that we make. Okay, in which what would be the bonus payment or even the increment for executive position, for non-executive position, for workers in the country in Malaysia. Jadi tu contohnya. You can get these books, you can order these books, and we will courier that to you. Okay, now, lepas tu you can see the one yang standing at the back tu, MEF analysis of CAs. Okay, itu pun for those companies yang ada unions, this is a very useful tool for you untuk mengkaji lah, for whatever the case is, you these books, okay, these books, they are not available in bookshops, only exclusively in MEF. Dan kalau members, kita bagi discount, good discount. Kalau non-members pun boleh beli buku ni. Okay. And the fringe benefit survey is of course 3 years once lah. We come up with the fringe benefit survey. Yeah. Okay. This is also very good for you to refer. Okay. Now, lepas tu other IR series, as you can see, buku-buku lain, yeah, like the green one. I always like to market that book, yeah, because so for those of you who are HR practitioners, alamak, this book should be at your side on your desk lah, because this is a practical guide. Being in membership banyak kali juga, you know, my team receive macam contohnya inquiries. Puan, do you have any sample tak Bu? Surat macam ni, termination letter lah, semua nak sample, you know, which we cannot give, of course, because those are confidential documents from our membership. Jadi sekarang we come up with this practical guide. This bukan calang-calang punya textbook. This is not a textbook. This is a practical guide. So senang, buka semua templates ada over there. Okay, now, and then the red book, the probationers and the law. This book is actually just recently launched, I think about three weeks ago, when we had our IR conference. So for those of you, please catch hold of this book because they're not available elsewhere, only in MEF. Okay, now. So next we move on to our academy, which is the Training Academy, a subsidiary of MEF. Okay, now, so as you can see, the academy offers a range of courses from HR, you know, HRD, HRM. As I mentioned tadi, kita ada public course. We also have in-house course. So what you can do is macam contohnya hard skills or soft skill program. You can always discuss with our training consultants to come out with T&A, training and analysis, where we can customize to the requirement that you need for your organization. Okay, now we also collaborate with industry specialists, yeah, and then we also have, okay, since IR is our well, the word is bread and butter, tapi mungkin is our nasi and lauk lah, industry relations. So we develop programs yang orang kata yang on time, yang very current. Contohnya macam the EA punya, EA mungkin tak applicable to Sabah dan Sarawak kan. Tapi maksudnya kita buat current programs whatsoever, sama ada online ataupun face to face, be it dekat your in-house, which is at your premises, or dekat hotel ataupun public courses, yeah. And then you will be you can claim from HRDC for these courses, or lepas tu conferences, seminars tadi, and academic programs. Okay, now other MEF events memang banyak lah. We also take part in exhibition dan sebagainya. Dengan income tax, dah 13 tahun we work together buat the tax webinar dan sebagainya. Okay, membership, a quick one. Okay, there are two classes of membership. Satu is ordinary member, the other one is association member. For ordinary member, anyone of you online that your company is an enterprise ataupun you are a sendirian berhad, okay, you can opt to join as a single company ordinary member, ya. Kalau your organisation ada subsidiaries, okay, dengan syarat the subsidiaries human resource functions will have to refer to the holding company. Then you tarik your subsidiaries together and join us under group ordinary member. Okay, and then another class which is association member, which I will explain to you now. So for annual subscription, nama ni pun annual that year, that means every year lah you bayar. Okay, there is an entrance fee imposed, which is sekali bayar RM500 processing fee, and annual subscription is determined by the total workforce of your organisation. That is the formula there. The first 100 RM10, second 100 RM8, third 100 RM6. Thereafter RM1. Contohnya you ada 150 orang. Okay, the first 100 kali 10 RM1,000, the 50 orang kali RM8, jadi RM400. Jadi RM1,400, that is the subscription for you for that particular year. Lepas tu ada entrance fee RM500 one off payment, you bayar RM1,900. Okay, now, however, kita subject to minimum of RM1,000, maximum of RM6,000. Bermaksud, kalau kata you do the calculation, okay, contohnya kalau you ada 90 orang, 90 orang, 90 orang, you kali RM10, RM900. Tapi sebab the minimum RM1,000 is you still have to pay RM1,000. Macam tu. Kalau lebih pada 100 orang, then the formula kita gunakan tu, dan 6,000 ni, rough calculation, kalau you ada 3,900 employees and above, you bayar RM6,000 saja. So within our membership, kita memang ada big corporations, macam Telekom lah, TNB, Berjaya Group dan sebagainya, they pay RM6,000. Okay, now. Jadi this one, a quick browse through of association membership. Kita ada 6 kategori, which, okay, now, look at these two slides. Okay, ini yang saya highlighted in yellow ni, these are the associations which are currently our members, terletak di Sabah dan Sarawak. Okay, jadi you tengok Sabah Employers Consultative Association, dia kategori dia FM2, SCCI pun FM2, tapi yang tu yang ada S-rate tu SMA, FSI, STIA, KK tu, SEA semua S-rate. Okay, now. Jadi dia ada lagi STA pun AM2. Okay, jadi all in kita ada 28 industry groups or associations which are our current member. Okay, kenapa? I would like to highlight to you, since you are online there, perhaps you are a member of maybe tadi SMA ke, you are a member of FSI ke, STIKK atau SEA kan? Okay, now why? Okay, now. Under the MEF constitutional rules, di bawah kategori AM1, you are most welcome. Bermaksud, kalau kata you are anak ataupun ahli-ahli kepada SMA, FSI dan sebagainya tadi I mentioned to you up there, okay, you are only paying 80% of the subscription. Kalau you kira, contohnya you punya employees number dalam 100 orang, you patut bayar RM1,000 to us. Tapi you only bayar RM800 because you are under the flagship of your association, which are currently our association members under the M1 category. Okay, kalau tak faham later on nanti you can email to me, I will explain to you. Okay, dan kalau kata other industry groups yang nak join MEF under association membership, anda semua sangat-sangat dialu-alukan because it will benefit your members as well. Okay, now. So for ordinary association membership, currently this one is statistics for October, November pun dah tambah lagi. So kita semua ada dalam lebih kurang 6,600 lah members, ordinary members, that means syarikat base, company base. Lepas tu kalau kita katakan association members dan ordinary members, the employees covered by our membership sudah mencapai hampir 3 juta pekerja sektor swasta di Malaysia. Alright, now, jadi the location of our membership scattered all over the country. As you can see, East Malaysia ni masih tak banyak lagi. Jadi sebab itulah salah satu reason kita buat this membership drive. Jadi awareness is there. You can please consider to join us. Okay, now. Jadi lepas tu saya nak tunjuk, this is orang kata the value add service to MEF members. Kalau kata you ada foreign workers that you would like to fly them out, fly them in, you boleh gunakan our MEF Malaysia Airline Service macam ni, ya. Okay, jadi only to 8 destinations lah, Okay, now. Ini, my subordinate used to laugh at me because I kata, this is year-end special promotion. It's like jingle bells, jingle all the way. Jadi kalau katakan year-end, kita semua rasa macam festive mood. So is MEF. So what we are doing now is we offer the waiver of RM500 entrance fee to all of you di luar sana, okay, yang would like to become our member. Tak payah tunggu end of December, alamak, Januari lah kita nak join New Year. Tak payah. So now I'm telling you the secret. If let's say you join now in December, your RM500, you save lah RM500 waiver, okay? Dan kalau you di bawah persatuan-persatuan tadi, another 20% discount. Okay, what you can do is kalau you join sekarang sebelum berakhirnya December ini, it's as if you join us for one whole year. Di mana tahun 2023, you tak payah bayar. Because our membership sebenarnya will be on calendar year. Akan tetapi, in cases of new membership, contohnya kalau you join kita in the month of April, whatever you pay the whole year tu is valid from April 2022 sampai April 2023. So for May sampai December, it will be prorated fee for you lah. Okay, now. So now, this is what I'm telling you. I would like strongly to encourage you. If you were to join this month, kita ada lagi berapa? Hari ni 6. Oh, kita ada lagi 3 minggu to decide. Tak payah susah lah cakap dengan bos. Bos, this is year-end festive season. Jomlah kita join, bos, because of this waiver. As well as you can get our professional services straight away lah. Because kalau you join us now, it's as if tahun depan you tak payah bayar. 2024 baru you bayar balik. Alright, okay. So this limited offer ends 31st December. Okay, now. And kalau you are already member online, you know that we have this new member incentive scheme, okay? You just buka mulut je, tak payah keluar modal pun. Just cakap, you join MEF lah, my company is a member of MEF. I think, we gain so much of benefits, you tak payah risau-risau. Alamak, your company, you dah salah, you dah hantar disiplin letter to your staff ke, are you following the right procedure dan sebagainya? You better refer to MEF lah, contohnya. Jadi, as an introducer, we give you RM450. Okay. Mewah dan lumayan kan untuk saya lah. Okay. Jadi the thing is that please grab this opportunity because it also ends 31st December. Well, everyone is in festive season, festive mood nowadays. Okay, jangan risau. Okay, now, so with that, I thank you so much for your passion, for your interest, and hopefully that you may consider the things that I explained to you and you can see how much MEF will benefit you. You give it a try for 1 year dulu. Tengok macam mana. And then any feedback, any complaints ke, any yang improvement, ideas dan sebagainya, please contact MEF membership. Okay, so we will do the best for the employees in the country. With that, Cik Zakri, I pass the line over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Puan Hajah Haslina, for the very clear and comprehensive presentation on the role of MEF and the many benefits. So if you have any questions on membership, please save them on the for the Q&A session later, or you can begin to post this in the Pigeonhole platform link that you can find in the chat box. So for our next presenter, I'm pleased to invite Tuan Haji Anis Fahmy Pauzi, MEF Senior OSH Consultant, who will speak on the Occupational Safety and Health Amendment Act 2022. Most of you may not be aware how this may impact your company. So let's hear from Tuan Haji Anis on what the amendments would mean to employers and what we should do. Tuan Haji, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tuan Zakri, our senior, our general manager for membership drive, and thank you, Sarawakian Sabahan, for attending our session for today. Let me share the slides presentation, and I'll go straight to the briefing on OSH amendment. Okay, so I think many of us are aware that there are a lot of changes, development towards our labor law, the Employment Act, and also the other subsidiary legislation. And OSHA is the same, Occupational Safety and Health Act, which is a very important act that need to be understood and implemented by the OSH practitioner and also the HR practitioner. There are a lot of systemic changes to the existing Occupational Safety and Health Act. So it is very crucial, being employers, that you need to understand what are the changes, what are the amendments. And talking about amendment, there are three general amendments. The first one is there are a lot of substitution in the existing provision, number one. Number two, there are deletion, meaning to say some of the provision that we are implementing now are being deleted from the provision from the Principal Act. And thirdly, there are new provision that is being added to the existing provision. So I'll try to be brief as possible and try to complete the session within 30 to 45 minutes, and then we can take a question for if you have any question later on. So the topic of discussion is actually on Occupational Safety and Health Amendment, Pindaan, Amendment Act 2022, and it does not negate totally the OSHA Act 1994, but it will be amended. And the Principal Act, which is the OSHA Act 1994, will have a lot of changes. Okay, important dates that we need to be alert of. As we know, the new amendment is already royal assent, sudah pun diperkenankan oleh Duli Yang Maha Mulia Sri Paduka Baginda Yang di-Pertuan Agong on the 4th March, on the 4th of March this year. And it is gazetted, sudah pun digazetkan. The amendment is gazetted on 19 March 2022, and the effective date, or enforcement date, tentatively, I repeat, tentatively will be June 2023. So we have roughly around 7 months to be prepared to make all the necessary changes to our OSH arrangement at the workplace, because we don't have much time. We have roughly around 7 months to be prepared with the changes. Okay, so take note, be alert, make sure that your Safety and Health Committee are ready for the changes, and do make sure that you have a proper action plan in the Safety and Health Committee, so that later on when the dates comes, you are ready. You are ready. Okay, so as we know, there are two general law pertaining to safety and health. The first one is the Occupational Safety and Health Act, which is a self-regulatory act. And the other one, we have the Factory and Machinery Act. So these two laws are side by side being enforced by DOSH, side by side, concurrently. Right now, it is being enforced by the Department of Occupational Safety and Health. And you have to bear in mind that currently the Factory and Machinery Act is a prescriptive law. It is a prescriptive law, meaning to say what to do, how to do, the detail, the measurement, the detailed part on how to establish and do safety and health is being prescribed in this law. Whereas the occupational safety and health is more of a self-regulatory piece of law, meaning to say the law will tell you what to do, but the detail on how to do is silent. So this is the dilemma that we have now. One is detail, the other one is too general, and we rely on certain organization in the company to perform the implementation of it. So these are the two clash of philosophical legislation that we have. We have a self-regulatory piece of law. The other one is a prescriptive law. So what will happen next year? What will happen next year is when the amendment takes place, which is tentatively June 2023, concurrently, the Factory and Machinery Act will be revoked. Meaning to say, starting from June next year, we will only have OSHA Act. So Akta Kilang dan Jentera akan ditarik balik ataupun dilunaskan, tidak lagi dikuat kuasa, tetapi kita akan ada satu sahaja perundangan ataupun peraturan berkaitan keselamatan dan kesihatan di tempat kerja, which is the OSHA Act with the self-regulatory philosophical legislation. Okay, so this is the development now. So as a company, you need to be prepared to manage and govern OSH as a self-regulatory piece of law. So we will have only one single act to govern safety and health at the workplace, which is a self-regulatory law. So what do we mean by self-regulatory law? So this is the framework when you want to manage safety and health at the workplace as self-regulatory piece of law, then these are the elements. These are the elements that you need to take care of. Number one, you need to make sure that if you are under the scope of the OSHA Act, then you have to conform to it. You have to execute it. And in order for you to execute, you have to make sure that you have designated people responsible to do it. And they are being given accountability. So whatever happened within the organization, there must be somebody in charge related to safety and health. And the first element that you need to secure is to have and establish an OSH policy. And this OSH policy must in itself explain self-regulatory. So there must be some element of self-regulation within your OSH policy. So that will be your initial point when you start to conduct and arrange safety and health. Pastikan ada dasar keselamatan dan kesihatan yang bertunjangkan peraturan kendiri. So that would be number one. And number two, in order for you to manage safety and health, you need to ensure that the organization is subscribing to an OSH management system. And the international OSH management system that is currently being implemented is the ISO 45000. So you must have the element being implemented. Whatever is in the ISO 45001, 2018, whatever is the element within that standard must be implemented. And number 3, you must have a consequence management. What do we mean by consequence management? In the event that you have some detour or you have some error or detour from the OSHA Act, then you need to make sure that it is being aligned towards OSHA Act. Or you have some problem with standard operating procedures, then you need to make sure that whatever you do, you have to align it back to the management system so that the organization would not collapse in terms of occupational safety and health implementation. And number 3, you need to ensure that everybody within the organization are being addressed, are being given key performance indicators related to OSH. And whatever key performance indicators being determined can be a lagging indicator, can be leading indicator. And it must be the organization must be able to measure those KPIs so that you can continually improve your OSH performance. And of course, in order to do that, you need to make sure that you have a team. You have a team to check, to monitor, to check where you are now, where you are going. And you need to have an internal team, for example, an internal audit team to ensure that whatever we have discussed here being implemented. And of course, for you to do all of this, then you have to make sure that you need to make sure that your people are competent, because under the amendment law, certain competency, certain activity, you need to have competency before you can proceed with doing the job. And of course, in the event you have any mishap, you have any accident, then you need to report those incidences to the authority, which is DOJ. So you can see here that when you talk about self-regulation, it is more on managing safety and health within the organization. And as you can see here, in the event you have an incident, then only you need to report to the authority. So you can see there are minimum involvement of the authority. So this is what the law is requiring us to do when we embrace self-regulatory. So according to the authority, they believe that Malaysia is ready. Malaysia is ready to be under self-regulation. So there will be less involvement of the authority when it comes to managing safety and health at the workplace. Jadi pihak berkuasa iaitu DOJ berpandangan sudah sampai masanya semua syarikat, semua organisasi boleh menguruskan safety and health-nya sendiri tanpa membuat banyak penglibatan daripada pihak berkuasa. So what I'm sharing here is under the OSH master plan. So this is the way forward. This is what the authority want us to do. They believe that it is time and high time for us to be able to manage and govern our own OSH at the workplace with minimum intervention from the authority. Okay, so when you talk about policy, then as I mentioned earlier, make sure that the policy is your initial starting point. You have the policy in place. Make sure that you communicate the policy to the stakeholders, to your worker, to your employee, and also to your board member. And number 2, you have to make sure that when you write down your safety policy, then make sure that in the written text, you have self-regulation expression. So this is the policy, and policy carries maximum penalty if you don't establish it. Okay, and number 2, as I mentioned earlier, in order for you to manage safety and health, then you need to subscribe to OSH management system, or at least the organization can prove that you are implementing the elements within the, 45,000. So currently it is still voluntary basis. And having an OSH management system is a voluntary basis. It is not yet mandatory, but when we talk about self-regulation, then you cannot run away from subscribing to a system, and the system which is well recognized is the OSH management system, 45,000. And of course, in the process of implementing OSH, you may have some hiccup here and there. Then you have to conduct corrective action and try to prevent from the same incident from reoccurring. And this must be monitored from time to time by the safety committee, if you have a safety committee. And of course, you have to make sure whatever is within the OSHA Act, then you have to make sure that it is being conformed to. Okay, so as I mentioned, a key performance indicator is not just about having a KPI for the organization. We are looking at departmental KPI. We are looking at individual KPI. So make sure that your people are being given a reasonable KPI. On OSH, it can be leading, it can be lagging, but it must be there, because without KPI, then you cannot measure. When you cannot measure, you cannot manage. So these are important elements that need to be within the organization. And of course, you need to monitor. You need to monitor your performance, and normally, how do you do it is by establishing an OSH audit team, internal inspectors, or you can even engage professional bodies to perform the inspection for you. And of course, you can consult subject matter expert in doing so. So these are the elements for self-regulation. And there are certain designation that you need to be aware of. For example, some organization, you need to have safety officer. Then you need to appoint a safety officer, safety and health officer, sorry. And some organization, you need to have OSH coordinator. So these people must be in place, and they must be registered with the Department of OSH. And of course, in the event that you have any incidences, then you have to report under Section 32. So these are the brief explanation on what are the elements when we talk about self-regulation as required by the authority. Okay, now I just finished explaining to you the way forward, which is self-regulation. So we don't have any more next year. The Factory and Machinery Act, we have only one piece of law, which is Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994 with the amendment. So next year, everything will go on self-regulatory mode. Self-regulatory mode. Okay, now let's go into the details. Let's go into the details. As you can see here on my slide, these are the parts in the existing OSHA Act. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, and so on. And if you can see at every part, they are amendment. They are amendment. For example, here under preliminary, there are 6 substitution. Ada 6 perkara diganti. And then we have 4 deletion. So the existing provision starting from next year won't be applicable anymore. So we have 4 deletion here. And we do have 12 insertion, meaning to say something new. A new provision, peruntukan baru dimasukkan di bawah preliminary alone. So you can see it is a systemic. It is a systemic amendment. And when we say amendment, it doesn't mean that it is something big. It can be something small, such as a comma, a dot, a sentence, a term. So amendment can be anything. It can be from a dot, titik, up a comma. It can be a wording, a letter. It can be a word. It can be a sentence. So that's what we mean by amendment. And you can see here, it is everywhere. The amendment being done is everywhere. So it's good that if you have time, sit down together with your committee, check one by one, line by line, the amendment that can affect you later on. Okay, the one in yellow is totally new. It is a new part. It is a new provision which is being added on to the existing law. So you can see that starting from next year, there are places of work that need to be notified to DOSH. As we know, currently, the one in the Factory Machinery Act, such as kilang, manufacturing sector, construction, they need to register. They need to notify and register the place of activity to DOSH. But now, under the new amendment, later on there will be a prescribed list. Ada satu senarai yang akan dikeluarkan oleh JKKP, and that particular place of work need to be registered with DOSH, notified and registered. So that would be the new amendment to the OSHA Act. And number two, machineries that you are using at the workplace later on, starting from next year, you need to notify and register with DOSH. What type of machine? We have to wait because we need to wait for the prescribed list. Kita kena tunggu senarai yang akan dikeluarkan oleh pihak JKKP. But the commentary will be there lah. The commentary which is mesin perakuan mesin angkat under Factory Machinery Act will be migrated here lah. So whatever is mesin angkat, hoisting machine, definitely you need to register. Perakuan mesin dandang, boiler, you need to register. And then pressure vessel, mesin bertekanan, you need to register. Those are already enforced currently. But whether or not there will be more addition to the list of machineries that need to be registered, then we have to wait for DOSH amendment. DOSH prescribed list. Okay, and then number two, the new addition to the law is this one, Part 7A. Okay, Part 7A. So there are new competency that is being introduced. New competency that being introduced, and the workplace need to be alert whether they need to have this competent person, number one. And number two, this competent person, they cannot simply go to any training. They cannot simply go to any training as we are doing now. They need to go to training under registered training provider, registered with DOSH. So company, be cautious before you send these people for training. Make sure that you register them with an approved training provider, which also later on there will be a list by the JKKP. So this is very crucial. Now, tak apa, you can simply send your people to any training as long as they are registered with HRD Corp. But later on, you have to check both HRD Corp plus DOSH. Okay, so in total, there are 53 substitution throughout the OSHA Act. 24 deletion and 43 insertion. And as I just discussed, we have two new parts. This part will be added on to the OSHA 1994, and tentatively it will take effect June next year. Okay, so let's go to some more details. So OSHA Act, currently we have a schedule. We have a schedule of scope of application. Schedule for scope of application. So that schedule is starting from next year will be repealed. Kita tidak ada lagi jadual scope aplikasi. What we have is every workplace. So starting from June next year, every workplace, as long as it is a workplace, then it will be governed under OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994. So asalkan tempat kerja, dia menjadi di bawah atau OSHA. Yang kita ada pengecualian. We do have exemption, whereby, for example, if the person is working domestically, orang gaji, tukang kebun, then they are exempted from complying to OSHA. Or the armed force, tentera, tentera udara, tentera darat, tentera diraja dan sebagainya, they are exempted from OSHA Act. And those who are on board ships, meaning to say seafarers, orang yang berlayar, mereka tidak terkecuali lah. Bila mereka berlayar, tidak terpakai kepada mereka OSHA Act. Okay. Another important note is that the minister ataupun menteri boleh melantik, can appoint a person to conduct inspection on behalf of OSHA Act. Currently, inspection of machineries are done by DOSH, by DOSH officers. But I was told by DOSH, currently we have 400,000 unit of machineries, certificated machine. More than 400,000 certificated machine throughout Malaysia. So DOSH is a bit overwhelmed. Banyak sangat machine yang perlu diperiksa. So the new strategy is the ministry, or through DOSH, they will appoint bodies. They will appoint bodies that can perform inspection on behalf of the OSHA Act. So it later on, not necessarily just DOSH officer can perform inspection, but professional bodies that can do the inspection on behalf of OSHA Act. So now you can see the shift from the totally government inspection, but later on they will be mixed. We have DOSH officer performing inspection activity plus inspectorate bodies or appointed companies that will perform inspection. So these are the change. So later on, DOSH have more time to conduct enforcement rather than just performing inspection. They have more time, leeway to perform other types of enforcement, not just focusing on inspection. So inspection will be done by professional inspection body appointed by DOSH, and they will go around and perform on behalf of the OSHA Act. Okay, so another important addition to the OSHA Act is currently we don't have any specific written statement in the OSHA Act that require a company to have an emergency procedure. The one that we have is section 15.2c is just talking about safe access and egress. That's all. But there's no specific text that require a company to establish a procedure on emergency. But starting from next year, you have to be alert that having an SOP or SOPs can be plural or it can be singular or plural, depending on your nature of work. Starting from next year, you need to make sure that you have standard operating procedure handling emergencies. And when we talk, you can see here, section 15, it doesn't say emergency, it's plural, emergencies. Jadi you have to look into your activity, your likelihood, what are the kinds of emergency that probably can happen, then you need to establish and anticipate the worst case scenario and turn it into an SOP. So you need to have specific SOP. For example, fire, definitely. If you have a risk of fire occurring within your organization, then you need to have an SOP on fire emergency or fire evacuation. Or you may have some issues on the location itself. Maybe for the last 4 years, you have flood issue at your area where you are operating. Then you need to make sure that you have an emergency procedure on flood, for example. The one that I list down here is example and not in the law. If you read the amendment, it doesn't say fire, natural disaster. It just say this one, the top one. These are the provision. But I'm giving you example of the type of emergency that can occur. So it depends. So every organization will have its own unique SOP on emergency, depending on location, depending on activity, depending on what you store, depending on the political situation within that particular location and so on. So please take note this, discuss this with your safety committee, try to establish as unique and specific as possible emergency to your organization. Okay, another new term that is being coined is principle. Principle, it is there in the law, but it's not that. It's quite ambiguous currently. But now it is specifying the employer, self-employed person, and principal. So what are principal? A principal are a person who, in the course of or for the purpose of his trade, business, profession, or undertaking contracts with a contractor for the execution by or under the contract of the whole or any part of any work undertaken by the principal. Right? So for example, you engage a contractor to service your car or to service your aircon. So you become principal. So when we say principal here, whatever is under the duty of principal within section 15 to section 19, then you have to observe. For example, you have to ensure that whatever activity done by your contractor is safe. If your worker in the same premise wearing a safety helmet, you have to make sure that the contractor's worker also wearing the same safety helmet. So you cannot have a substandard PPE for the contractor and a good PPE for your worker. No, you cannot discriminate because you have to uphold the duties and responsibility of the principal. So principal can happen and can happen when you engage somebody to perform a job for you. Okay, so these are the details now. So a principal need to ensure contractor engaged by the principal when at work, any subcontractor or indirect subcontractor when at work, any employee employed by such contractor or subcontractor when at work, they observe the safety and health being implemented by your organization. So principle is now being detailed out, what is supposed to be done. Okay, section 16. Currently, the section 16 require an organization to have a safety and health policy, but now they have inserted occupational, occupational in front of the term. So make sure that later on your safety and health policy is named occupational safety and health policy. So they add the word occupational into the safety policy. And make sure, as I have mentioned earlier, you must have some element of self-regulatory in your dasar tersebut. Okay. This is new. This is new under OSHA Act. risk assessment must be performed. You have to perform risk assessment, and risk assessment must have control. So you cannot just simply perform risk assessment without control. So when you perform the risk assessment, you come up with the risk level, high, moderate, low. Your control measure must correspond to the level of risk, high, moderate, low. Risk assessment means evaluating the risk. Normally, we come up with 3 evaluation. Either the risk is low, the risk is moderate, or the risk is high. And if it is high risk, then you cannot just simply use the lowest order of the hierarchy of control, which is normally PPE. So you cannot solve high risk issue every time you have a high risk issue with personal protective equipment. It doesn't work like that. You have to, by order, you have to look into the order of the hierarchy of control. So when it is high risk, the first and foremost, you need to eliminate the hazard. So that will be the first ranking. Secondly, substitution, for example. But the concern is always to eliminate the hazard for high risk. So you have to make sure that whenever you do the risk assessment, it tally and it correspond correctly with the hierarchy of control. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, when you talk about risk assessment, then you have to use the right methodology or right tool. If it is a physical hazard, then the proper tool would be HIRAC, Hazard Identification, Risk Assessment and Control. You don't use HIRAC for chemical exposure. You need to use a different tool for chemical exposure. If it is ergonomic issues at the workplace, then your risk assessment is supposed to use initial and advanced error. So it depends on the risk that you are trying to address. You cannot have one tool to fit all. You cannot have one tool to fit all. You have to make sure that the risk assessment tool that you use are valid to the corresponding risk and hazard that you are trying to address. And this is again examples. You have to conduct risk assessment, but make sure that the tools are correct. Either it can be HIRAC, it can be chemical health risk assessment, it can be ergonomic risk assessment. For biological hazard, it can be health risk assessment. So try to be as specific as possible so that later people can question the tool that you use. People cannot dispute the tool that you use in your risk assessment exercise. Okay, not doing so, which we have discussed, you can see that now, currently the maximum penalty is 50,000 ringgit for section 15, 16, 17, it is 50,000 ringgit. But next year, it is tenfold. From 50,000 ringgit, the penalty, if you don't perform as required by the sections, will be 500,000. Jail term remains the same, but the penalty is 10 times more, 500,000. Okay, another highlight from the amendment is on the duties of designer, manufacturer, and supplier. For example, if you have chemical at the workplace, then the supplier identify or the manufacturer identify that there are new risks. To the plant that is used. Plant here referring to the workplace. It can be a scaffold, it can be a gondola, whatever it is. So if the manufacturer that produce that particular equipment identify there are new risks when people are using the equipment, then it is their duty to inform the end user. So take note, if you are a manufacturer or a supplier or a formulator, when you identify a new risk associated to the hazard that you produce, then it becomes mandatory for you to share that information to the end user. So not doing so, you can see currently is 20,000 ringgit. Later on, it's going to be 200,000 ringgit for breaching Section 23. Sorry, breaching Section 20 to 23. Okay. This is also new. For any breach by the worker, as we know, there are 4 duties of employee under Section 24: cooperating with the employer in terms of safety and health, getting involved in any safety and health activities, wearing PPE when it is required, and adhering to any instruction on safety and health from time to time as required by the law or by the employer. So those are the general duties of the employee. So if they do not observe the 4 duties of the employee, then the person individually can be charged. And now it's 1,000 ringgit. But please inform your worker, take it seriously, make sure you perform your duty properly under Section 24, because if not, DOSH can charge you up to 2,000 ringgit, or even worse, go to jail. So this is the new changes of fine to employees. Please make sure that you convey the message to your employees. Okay, this is new. This is new. We have a new term being coined and inserted to the duties of employee. This is the term for many years being championed by ILO, International Labour Organization. For many years, they were trying to make sure that all states under ILO insert the word rights of employee into their laws. So finally, Malaysia, we agree to this now. So now the section 24 to 27 is not just talking about the duties of employee, but what are their rights? What are the rights of the employee in terms of safety and health? So the new development, the new provision is an employee, if he is performing a work and the work can cause imminent danger. So if your worker is working and he is faced with imminent danger, what do we mean by imminent danger? Imminent danger is a scenario or a threat or a risk that can cause death to that worker, yang boleh menyebabkan kematian kepada pekerja tersebut, or serious bodily injury. Serious bodily injury, there's a list in the law. There's a list of serious bodily injury. There's a schedule. There's a schedule. 1, emasculation; 2, deprive of the eye; number 3. So it's a detailed types of injury. So if any of those injury can be inflicted to the worker when he or she is performing the job, then his duty is to inform the employer. His duty to inform the employer, and the employer must remedy the situation, and the employer must rectify the situation. But if nothing is done by the employer, then that particular individual or worker can remove himself from the danger or the work, and he cannot be punished for removing himself. So here, this is something that is new to our law, whereby the law now is empowering the worker individually to remove themselves from dangerous situation, imminent danger that can cause death or serious bodily injury. Please take note of this. So it is important that try to discuss this issue within your safety committee And for those who have yet to have a stop work policy, then this is where you try to streamline your stop work policy with this section 26A. So I know companies, some companies, they do have a stop work policy. For example, everybody can stop another person working if the work can cause imminent danger and so on. So this is something new that you need to discuss in great detail in your safety committee. Okay, so this is the brief explanation of that particular section. Inform the employer, then if nothing is done, the person can remove himself, and he is protected against any discrimination. Okay. So in the event that the employer discriminate the worker due to removing himself, for example, then the employer can be charged 100,000 ringgit. Currently it's 10,000, but now any discrimination related to OSH is 100,000. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, there will later on be a list of workplace that need to be registered with DOSH. Machineries, you need to inspect machine, make sure that the machine are having a certificate of fitness before it is being operated, before it is being installed. If not, then the penalty will be 100,000 ringgit. Okay, this is new. This is not new. Sorry, this is in a way something add-on to safety and health policy. A safety and health officer. A person shall be appointed as a safety and health officer. For companies that need to have a safety officer, please take note that you have to make sure that that particular safety officer is only working at one place at one time. So you cannot have one safety officer taking care of 5 branches or 5 plant. Satu safety officer menjaga 5-6 plant yang berbeza-beza jauh-jauh. For example, you have one in Sabah, Sarawak, and then you have another branch in Johor, and you have only one person taking care of all 5 plants. That is not permissible unless approved by Director General of DOSH. If it is not approved and all 5 branches need to have a safety officer, then you need to make sure that every single place of work have one safety and health officer. You can have one person taking care of 5 sites, for example. Take note of this. If not, then the penalty will be 50,000 ringgit. Okay, another new provision is Occupational Safety and Health Coordinator. So for company which are not required to have safety and health officer, and you have 5 or more person at the workplace, then you need to appoint one occupational safety and health coordinator. And this coordinator must be trained, have to go for OSH coordinated training. It's a 3-day program. Register with DOSH, then he can practice as an OSH coordinator. This is for companies that are not required to have safety officer and having 5 or more people at the workplace. So take note lah. Jadi tempat kerja yang sekarang ini tidak ada coordinator. Tahun depan kalau lebih 5 dekat atas, kena ada seorang OSH coordinator. This is new, so I'm just giving some highlights on the OSH coordinator. And the OSH coordinator, to be an OSH coordinator, kena warga negara lah, warga negara Malaysia, so no expatriate or foreign worker lah. A minimum requirement for education level is SPM. age 19 to 60, yeah, and have 1 year minimum experience being and you need to show the testimonial to DOS that you are working for that particular company. So if you have all these criteria, then you can become an OSH coordinator to perform as an OSH coordinator as per section 29. Okay, I won't go into detail on OSH coordinator, but roughly these are his duty lah. Memberi nasihat kepada majikan, inspect the workplace, in the event you have any accident, report on behalf of the company, manage risk at the workplace, and perform any duties lah from time to time, depending on the law. Okay, safety committee, please make sure that if you have 40 or more people at the workplace, you have a safety and health committee established. If not, you can be fined 100,000 ringgit. And training, as I mentioned, there will be a class or description of person that need to go occupational safety and health training, and it must be, you have to register with a registered training provider. Complete the training, then only you can perform the work. If not, if you perform the work without completing the training, then it's a violation against section 31. And of course, you need to register yourself with DOSH, and the registration will be valid for 3 years. Then you have to re-register. Okay, in the event that the company produce improvement notice or prohibition notice by the authority, then please not serve the notice properly, do whatever is instructed in the notice. If not, then you will be breaching the law, then can be charged 500,000 ringgit. Ini notis larangan, notis larangan ataupun notis pembaikan yang dikeluarkan oleh JKKP. Tolong pastikan tutup dengan elok. You close the notice properly as instructed by DOSH. If not, the consequences is quite hefty, 500,000 ringgit. Okay, other parts of the law, if it is not specified in terms of penalty, then it will be 100,000 again. And from time to time, bear in mind that this is not the law is not exhaustive. It can change, it can be amended, it can be added on from time to time. And under the power of the minister from time to time can make new regulation. Okay, this is the summary. I think run out of time. So these are the summary of the amendment. People can become licensed person and perform inspection duties on behalf of the law now. Can be a person, it can be a company. Company, make sure you have specific emergency procedures. Make sure the company has established a written occupational safety and health policy, and take note when you engage somebody else to perform certain activity for you, you become the principal. So you are obliged to follow whatever mandatory under the provisions of principle under the new amendment. A risk assessment you have to carry out systematically now because it is now clearly stated in the law. And for manufacturer, if you identify new risk to whatever product that you have, you are obliged to inform the end user. Remember not to discriminate employees, especially when they are serving the law, when they are adhering to the OSHA Act. If not, then whoever is discriminating such person can be charged with 100,000 again. Some workplace later on need to be registered under the new amendment. So please make sure that you observe and check the prescribed list which will be issued later on. Safety officer, one person only at one time unless being given exemption by the Director General. For other parts, for other companies which do not have a safety and health officer, if you have more than 5 persons, then you need to have one OSH coordinator. Safety committee, make sure you establish, implement, and maintain whatever is required by the Safety and Health Committee regulation, because the penalty now is very severe. If you are issued with notice of improvement, notice of prohibition, please serve the notice accordingly, because this penalty is very severe now. And for the other parts of the law, the penalty is now 100,000 ringgit. Okay. I think that's all that I want to share today. Terima kasih. Sekian, over to you, Encik Zakri.
Thank you, Tuan Janis. I think that was very enlightening. I also learned many things from your presentation, and I'm sure there are many questions that you want to ask. So if you have any questions, please submit them in the kita punya Pigeonhole link. I think it's available in the chat box. So anyway, for our next speaker, we are pleased to invite Dr. Dzulzalani Eden, who is our Senior Industrial Relations Consultant based in Kuching. Dr. Zul is an expert on the employment laws in Sarawak and Sabah, and his presentation is on the interesting topic of new directions in employment dispute resolution, dealing with unfair dismissal claims. Dipersilakan, Dr. Zul.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. Can you all hear me clearly? Boleh? Boleh dengar Encik Zakri?
Excellent.
Loud and clear.
Loud and
All right,
clear.
thank you. All right, thank you for that introduction. And before I start, I would like to comment on what Tuan Haji Anis mentioned just now. I think it's very interesting about the self-regulations. I think also in terms of labor law and in industrial relation law, we will soon have self-regulation in the future. And there is where I think MEF can assist in terms of compliance audits. That is one. And another one that Tuan Haji Anis is saying about where an employee can actually remove himself from the workplace if he is being put in a situation that endangered himself in safety and health. We already have that. In fact, we have that in our employment law, which is the Labour Ordinance Sabah Sarawak, as well as the Employment Act, where if the employee being threatened by any diseases or something related to safety and health, he can actually terminate his contract immediately and later on claim back to the employer, to the labor court or to the industrial relation department for unfair dismissal because he was put in danger. So that is his remedy. So I think you have to be very careful, employers, on that. So make sure that you are complying with the safety and health rules, because in addition to being punished under that law, you can also have ramification under the Labour Ordinance Sabah as well as Labour Ordinance Sarawak. Okay, for my topic today, I will focus on the termination of employment and also issues on unfair dismissal. This is very uncommon, but happen in unless in most companies, maybe not all company, but some company do face these issues of unfair dismissal claims or termination of employment claim. Let me share my slide first. Let me know if you are not able to see my slide. Okay, so I'm trying to maneuver the slide first. Give me a second. Okay, are you able to see my slide now? Okay.
Yes. Can
All
see.
right, good. So just a brief introduction about myself. I was with the Ministry of Human Resources before I joined MEF, and before that I was with the University of Malaysia Sarawak for about 8 years. I was in the Industrial Relation and Labour Studies program, where we taught students on industrial relation and labour programs or labour laws. And I've just joined MEF in about this is my 3rd month actually with MEF, and it's a great place to work actually. Right. Now, learning outcomes. Okay, for today is a very short briefing about the changes or the upcoming changes in our employment law as far as in the context of dismissal or termination of employment. So I hope by the end of the day you would understand what are the significant changes in dealing with unfair dismissal. Maybe not all, because if you want to know more, we have to have at least 1 or 2 day sessions. Today is just a brief one. Focusing on the Industrial Relation Act 1967, and of course Employment Act 1955, which is not applicable here, but they have changed it. And what we are going to have in future is for Labour Ordinance Sabah and Labour Ordinance Sarawak, following the the changes that has been put in place in the Employment Act 1955. So Employment Act 1955 will be enforced on 1st January 2023, and most of the provisions are going to be incorporated into our Labour Ordinance Sarawak and Sabah, which I think in 1 or 2 years' time will be there. Yeah, so you need to be ready on that. There are provisions like discrimination, sexual harassment, forced labor, and new other things, working hours and all that. Now, the second one today, I hope you can understand a little bit on concept of fairness. If we have time, I'll go into that as well. Yeah, and of course, learning from some of the cases and best practices on how you deal with cases of unfair dismissal or termination employment. If we have time, we will proceed on that. Now, okay, just to give you an overview of how we deal with problems in our law, in the Labour Law, Industrial Relations Act, as well as Employment Law, ataupun Labour Ordinance Sabah and Sarawak. So in our Industrial Relations Act, we have this mechanism to resolve problems. So as much as possible, we try to encourage employer to resolve whatever dispute, in terms of retrenchment, if you have problems, your worker non-performance, there are disciplinary issues, try to settle that at the workplace so that you don't have to be, you don't have to face a lot of problems. We at MEF will assist you in terms of giving you advices on how you should actually dealt with the problems in the workplace, like Puan Haslina was mentioning just now. So we're here if I'm not around, there will always be people in our headquarters or in Sabah to assist you. So we are ready there for you to assist you in whatever advice that you need pertaining to the employment law in Malaysia, especially now that we have a lot of changes coming in the next few years. Now, secondly, of course, there are industrial actions that employees can take. I will show you what are the examples of the industrial actions later on. And of course, we have conciliations. Conciliation is very interesting because it is being assisted by the Department of Industrial Relations and the government agencies that help become the third party. I used to work with them as well before, and we help both party, employers and employees, to resolve their problem. So once you have settled your cases at the conciliation, then you cannot bring your case further to the court. But if you cannot settle, especially now, whatever cases, especially unfair dismissal, if it is not settled at conciliation, it will be automatically referred to industrial court through arbitration. So that's the next stage of resolving dispute. Yeah? Of course, we have the executive decision. Previously, it was under the minister, but now has been given to Director General of Industrial Relations. It makes the process much faster and simpler, where the minister, the director himself or the officer himself can recognize the union if they are applying for recognition. So these are very much important for those who have union and who may have union in the future. And I would like to inform you also that the Trade Union Act 1959 has already in the process of amendment, and is going to be very, very significant. And we would foresee maybe more unions, more flexibility for union to operate. They can have more than one union in the workplace representing the same group of workers, which is now not allowed. Yeah, and we can even have people who retired joining a union, and there's also people who who have been retired, who retired to join union, and also a few other groups that are allowed to join unions. Okay, so that's just to give you some overview. Now, like I mentioned just now, we have these industrial actions. So industrial action is a way to resolve dispute. We allow under our law both parties to come to execute industrial actions, but it has to follow the rules and regulations. So these are some of the examples. If you are the employer, you can also have industrial action. You do lockout. Maybe you don't allow your workers to come in, but you have to have union to do this. Closure of works, hire replacement, suspensions, or unilateral impositions of terms and conditions of employment. Now, for the employees, this is very, very important. Employees can either strike, picket, work to rule. Sometimes they work, but they're actually very, very strict now. They come at 8, they go back at 5. They don't actually show their dissatisfaction in a way through strike or picket, but they are so rigid in their work. They don't want to do extra. They follow exactly the rules, of rule of time, for example. They go slow. Sometimes they purposely slow down their work, especially in the factory, just to make sure that they want to show you that they are protesting against whatever decisions or whatever changes you made in your company. Of course, withdrawal of cooperation, they do not want to cooperate and sit in or work in. Just sit in. They don't do anything. They just sit in. Okay, there are some example of unorganized individual action, which is prohibited under the law actually. Cost, for example, lateness, like what Tuan Haji mentioned just now, we have accident in the workplace. If the workers or the employees do not, they're not happy in the workplace, they might, ignore some of the rules and regulation and it cause accident in the workplace, and the company will get into problem as well. Labor turnover as well as legal actions. Now, in the old system, before the changes to the Industrial Relations Act 1967, this is how we resolve dispute, specifically on unfair dismissal dispute or termination of employment. To give you an overview of what unfair dismissal means is, for example, you have an employee who have worked for you for many years, even 1 year, or even 6 months, or even 2 or 3 months. And you dismiss them for many reasons. You can dismiss them or can terminate their contract for non-performance or for misconduct, or for you just want to dismiss them. You just don't like him and you just terminate his contract, or for many other reasons. There's so many reasons: retrenchment, termination, layoff. Some people are forced to resign, so they can actually go to this process in the past. It's very difficult for them to go to the High Court or to the Industrial Court in the past, but now it has changed. The law makes it much simpler for employees to go to the Industrial Court. I'll show you later how. Now, let me just explain to you about the past. So in the past, we always encourage employers to resolve these problems, retrenchment. We encourage you to do VSS or MSS rather than doing retrenchment, for example. That has to be done at the workplace. If you're dealing with people who are having disciplinary issues, we encourage you to do, domestic inquiry, for example, or you have grievance procedure. Now, if you are not able to resolve that at your own workplace, then you may, the workers may refer the case to the Department of Industrial Relations. For example, you dismiss him or terminate him, then he can go within 60 days. He has to file his case to the Department of Industrial Relations saying that, okay, look, my company has terminated my contract and I'm not happy about it. I want to get back my job. So that's the role of the Department of Industrial Relations. So they will call you. Under the law, you have to come and negotiate. Not to say negotiate now, it's conciliation already. They will try to conciliate. They will have no power to order you to take them back, but the true conciliation. So during conciliation, you can actually ask MEF to represent you, like Puan Haslina said just now. And we are there to help you. If you're not familiar with how conciliation is to be done, during conciliation, you have to give evidence. Not to say evidence, you have to give information. You have to defend your case. You have to be able to communicate to the officer why you did so. What are the things that you have to show them documentation. So you can engage MEF, if you're members of MEF, to help you to defend your case at the Department of Industrial Relations through conciliation. When I was with the Ministry of Human Resources, I did a lot of conciliation in the past, and we know, we need to look through both parties, but we are not able to make a decision. We try to resolve based on both parties' consent. But in the past, in order for them to go to the court, let's say it doesn't settle at the Department of Industrial Relations, then it has to be referred to the minister. Minister can decide, we're not going to refer this case to the court. So that's it. That's the end of the case. But of course, the worker can go under judicial review, but judicial review is not an easy thing to do. You have to engage a lawyer. So let's say, for example, there are 100 cases being referred to the minister in the past, and only 50 cases are being referred. Sorry, there are 100 cases being sent to the minister, and he only referred 50 cases. So that's it. We have 50 cases not being referred, so you have maybe one of them are your case, so you are happy. Now, of course, further than that, they can go to the High Court, Court of Appeal, and Federal Court, under the judicial review system. But now, things has become simpler for the employees. I'm not saying that simpler for employers, but more for employees. Of course, for the employer, it is still the same. You have to defend your case. Now, for the employees, if, for example, you dismiss them or you retrench them or you terminate them because of non-performance and you are not able to resolve that through your own mechanism in the workplace, then they refer again, okay, they will go to the Department of Industrial Relations. Then you go there for conciliation, again the same. And you can engage MEF to help you at the conciliation. But if the Department of Industrial Relations cannot resolve your case because they don't have power to instruct you, they can only negotiate. They can only conciliate. Then they will have to refer the case to the court automatically, 100%. There are 100 cases not settled at the Department of Industrial Relations. 100 cases will be referred to the industrial court now with the new system already in place since 2020. Yeah? Now, of course, beyond that, they can go to the High Court. Under the new amendment, they can also appeal to the High Court. But for us, MEF, we can represent you at the industrial court also. And we are not charging as high as the legal firms. Yeah, it's very much lower. Puan Haslina, yeah, true. Huh? It's very much less than what the lawyer are charging. And we have lawyers also, in fact, to represent you the industrial court. But we stand as employers association, not as a legal firm. But the industrial court allows that. And of course, the employee can be represented by a lawyer, can be represented by the unions, MTUC, and so forth. Now, of course, it also goes to the High Court for an appeal now. They're allowed. And then Court of Appeal and Federal Court for judicial review. So it's much simpler now, and it is faster. In the past, we have cases like unfair dismissal that are not resolved for 4 and 5 years. So many backlog. Now, with this arrangement, it should be settled within 1 or 2 years. Yeah. Now, this is another, like I said just now, representation. At the conciliation, employers can represent yourself. You, HR, can go by yourself, there's no harm. You can represent yourself at the conciliation. Conciliation is not that tough, actually. Or you can ask your trade union if you have employers trade union, or you can ask employers association, that is us, officers of employees or employers association like us here. Or now, with the new changes in the law, you can ask anyone, any other person except lawyer or solicitor. So at the conciliation, you cannot engage a lawyer. Same goes with employees. They can even ask their parents or their sisters, their brother or their consultant, whoever, non-employee association, a consultant, private consultant, to represent them at the conciliation. But it has to be approved by the officers, okay? It's not that easy. Now, okay, again, this is a new thing also, where for those who are mentally handicapped, I have a few cases in the past, where we deal with handicapped people. Now, they are allowed to be represented by, their guardians, for them to be attending conciliation, yeah? Because sometimes they might not be able to speak for themselves, either physically or because they are mentally handicapped. So they need to get somebody to represent and to talk for them, yeah? All right, so far, okay? Am I going too fast, or are you okay? Everyone is okay, huh? I like to have two-way communication rather than just way, because I don't know whether you are still there or not. So I hope everyone is still there following me. Now, when I talk about industrial court just now, if you're not aware of industrial court, I'm sure you are all very much aware of industrial court. Some of you may already have a case at the industrial court. Some of you may not have yet. We don't know in the future, you may have. Now that it's easy to go to industrial court. Now their functions are two basically. One is to hear and hand down cases, unfair dismissal, trade disputes, and so forth, either through referred by a minister or by the parties themselves. If you talk about trade dispute, now they also are responsible to endorse collective agreements if you have a union. I know union, there are not many in Sarawak. There are not many employees union, but like I said, in the future, next year, Trade Union Act 1959 is going to change. So we don't know. We might see a lot of unions coming in. Yeah. Now, okay, when you talk about industrial court, we have industrial court in Sarawak just behind our office. Actually, we are behind them, not they are behind us. So they are in front of us, actually, the industrial court on the 8th floor, Bangunan Bina Mas. So I can just walk there 2 minutes. If you ask me to represent you at the industrial court, I'll be there sharp in time, because it's just behind us. 2 minutes, I reached the place already. Okay, so again, I said, if you want us to represent you at the industrial court, our charges are very, very cheap. It's really, it's very at the minimum. Now, we have industrial court in Kuching, in Sabah, in KK, and in all other places in Semenanjung. Okay. Now, what are the remedies available for the employees at the industrial court with the new law now? Okay, in the current law, at the industrial court, the employees who are being terminated, whatever reasons there may be, sometimes it can be constructive dismissal. They're being forced to resign. You transfer them, and it involves changes in their term and condition of employment. They get lower salary, they get lower grade because you transfer them. That is also can be constituted as unfair dismissal, and they can go to the industrial court after they have gone to the industrial relations department. Now they will have to claim for reinstatement or re-employment to get back their job. At the end, when industrial court make a decision, they can decide not to put this guy back into the employment. Instead, ask the company to pay compensation of reinstatement, usually 1 year for every year of service. In addition to that, if your case goes beyond 24 months, you still have to pay 24 months. But if your case but a year, they will only ask you to pay 12 months back wages for permanent workers. But if you're dealing with probationer, even after 24 months cases settle, you will still be asked to pay 12 months only. For permanent staff, if your case is being handled at the court for more than 24 months, you still subject to pay up to 24 months. Last, in the past, before this law changes, some companies, the law allows the court to order as much as possible beyond 24 months, sometimes 36 months, 40 months wages. Can you imagine? One case, some companies goes bankrupt already. Now, cover all private sectors. It only covers private sectors. So government is not covered by these provisions. They have their own laws to govern them. We have the GO to cover the government servant. Now, the changes that we have in this industrial court recently is at Section 29 DA, they can hear and decide on the date of dismissal. In the past, if there are argument about whether this person is being dismissed or not, and we don't know the date, the court cannot hear on that case. It has to be referred to the High Court, for example. But now they have that power already. So in the past also, I have dealt with many cases that we don't know when actually he's being dismissed because there's no letter of dismissal. Yeah, or sometimes there are mistakes in the termination letter. So now the court has the power. So it makes the job faster for the employees. Actually, it makes the case faster for the employees. Of course, the employer, you will always want to argue your case. Now, secondly is when the workman had passed away, died. In the past, that's it. The case ends. Because you cannot bring back somebody who had died to work with you, right? Because this is about claim for reinstatement, re-employment. How can someone who has died brought back to the company to work? If you think logically, right? Because this is not a claim for compensation. Only the decision at the end is claim for example. But the key point is when you want to claim under Section 20, it has to be a claim for re-employment. So when you die, by right, you are not be able to re-employ. But now the law has changed. Even if after someone has died, and the court can actually order the employer to pay the next of kin of the workers for whatever compensation. Of course, they cannot take the next of kin back to work. But in the end, the court will order payment of compensation to the next of kin. A bit funny, okay? All right, never mind. I don't have to worry. The law is already there, so we cannot question that. Now, this is another thing here where we talk about dismissal that relates to, okay, this is very, very important. Now, please listen this carefully. Now that we are going to change our Trade Union Acts in the year 2023 or 2023, I think, very soon. I've seen the law, the draft already, and it's quite scary for employer, if I am. Now, under these sections, the Industrial Relations Act, the new one, if you are involved, if you are doing some kind of union busting, for example, you stop people from forming a union. Now, if that guy goes to the industrial court under the pretext of being dismissed, let's say you terminate his contract, you say, okay, you are involving in trade union, you are trying to create union in the workplace, now I terminate your contract. Okay, that guy, that worker can complain to the Industrial Relations Department, and if the case goes to court, you can be asked by the court to pay more than 24 months. Can you imagine if that guy has been, if the case goes to court for 5 years? So how many months of back wages you have to pay? 12 times 5 years. It can go to million. Okay, so this is very scary. So be careful. You cannot stop people from forming a union. You cannot interfere into whatever unions' works are, because the law protects them. But at the same time, you need to protect your right also as an employer. So you need to know this. Now, under Section 30 of 6B, it says here that I said just now, when the worker died, before this, you see before this just now. Before this, we see that the court now has the power to hear cases even after the employee has died. Now, by right, when the employee died, the case should end, but now no. They can still hear the case. So now the court has also the power to award compensation to the next of kin of the death of the deceased worker. Yeah, right? So that's also have to be taken into consideration. Yeah. All right. Now, next. Okay, this is again an interesting one. It also costs money to employers if you're not careful. Once the court give a decision and ask you to pay back wages plus compensation if you notice or any other compensation to the dismissed worker, if he wins the case, if you don't pay, after 30 days, you will be charged 8% interest. That's very high, isn't it? 8%. It's like, I think it's even more than the credit card. Yeah, I don't know how much is credit card now. Now, that's dangerous. Now, again, another one is, now, party may file a direct notice of appeal. Okay, once your case has been decided by the industrial court, let's say you lose your case as an employer, you lose your case. The court says, compensate the workers. Now, you are not happy with it. You want to challenge the decision. In the past, it's very hard for you to challenge, but now it's easy. It's just within 14 days, you can straight away appeal to the High Court, but you need to engage lawyer, and it's very, very expensive to go to High Court. So try not to go to High Court. Try to finish at the conciliation or industrial court level. Then you can engage MEF, all right? MEF will help you as much as possible. Now, next is, what is this? Okay, now, there's two things here, the new things that we have in the section, in the Industrialization Act in 2020, the changes is that the minister has the power to include statutory body. In the past, statutory body is excluded from this section 20, but now it can be included, but the minister has not made the decision yet. Has not made an order yet, so it is not being implemented as yet. For example, UNIMAS. For example, what are the example of statutory EPF? For example, we have SOCSO. They are all statutory body. So if they dismiss their worker at the moment, they are not able to file in the case under Section 20. They have to go on their own mechanism. But if the minister decides later on under the order, then these workers can. Yeah, but this doesn't really concern you as a private sector employers. I believe most of you here are in the private sectors. Now, the second one is give power to the magistrate or high court to direct the accused who, if you're being ordered to pay to the workers, you lose your case at the industrial court and you're being ordered to pay and you didn't pay. Well, the court can has the power to order you to make the payment at the high court or the court of appeal. So it's going to be quite messy for you if you do not abide by the order of the industrial court. The industrial court award is very, very powerful. Can be enforced in the magistrate court, in the high court. Now, that's about industrial court. In addition to industrial court, we have another court, which is labor court. Labor court is quite simpler. It's not as rigid as industrial court. But labor court also deal with a lot of issues that workers are facing. And now, with the changes in the Employment Act, if you are familiar with the Employment Act, although it's not being implemented in Sarawak, but we are going to follow that in our Labour Ordinance, Sabah Sarawak, where it has expanded the coverage of the Employment Act, soon to be Labour Ordinance Sabah and Labour Ordinance to everyone. Now, Labour Court in the past will not be able to deal with those who are above 2,000 in Semenanjung, for example. But now, even if you're earning 10,000, 20,000, you're a manager, you can still go to the Labour Court. In Sarawak, at the moment, you can go to the Labour Court up if you are earning 2,005 and below. And you can still go to the labour court if you're earning up to 5,000 using your own contract of employment, not under the labour ordinance, but using your own term and condition of employment. Yeah, but those who 2,005 below, they can claim whatever they have under the Labour Ordinance Sarawak or Labour Ordinance Sabah. Now, but in the future, it will change. It will cover more people. So you have to be careful on this. Yeah? So you cannot simply just terminate workers. You need to follow the rules. You need to know what are the right thing to do. So if you don't know, you get advice from MEF, you call us, we are ready for you to answer your questions, to assist you, like Puan Naslina said just now. Anytime. Now, you can even call us on our handphone, on WhatsApp, on email. There's so many channels of communication that we have now. Okay? So, okay. Now, this is representation at industrial court. Sorry, this is representations at the labor court. Sorry, I made a mistake. Just now was industrial court. So this one should be changed to, okay, this one should be changed to, this one should be changed to labor court. We have already talked about industrial court. This is labor court. I don't want to confuse you. Okay, so let's put it back again. Okay, are you able to see? Okay. Can you see my slide now? It should show representation at the labor court. So at the labor court, again, you can get MEF to represent you. Yeah, I have a few cases in the last few weeks, at the labor court. We have labor court all over Sarawak. Labor court is at the Labour Department office. If you have not been to the labor court, please go and see the labor court. It has a full structure of a court. You have a witness box, you have a judge sitting, you have, people, public can see the hearing also, We have the defendant table, we have the plaintiff and all that. So at the labor court, for the employers, you can either go yourself, you can represent yourself. You have to bring in your witness statement, you have to prepare everything, all the documents you have to prepare yourself. But you can also ask MEF to do it for you. You save your time to prepare all the documentation. I know preparing document is not easy. I think writing a witness statement, preparing a submissions, these are not easy things to do. You need to, stay awake for a few days to read the cases, to go through the documents before you can, come up with witness statement or submissions of your case. Again, when you sit in the court, you have to cross-examine, you have to do, examination in chief, you have to do cross-examination, re-examination, and so forth. This is not something that can be easily be done. So you can engage MEF to help you, to make your case, processed in the labor court, Now, for the employees, of course, they can also engage their own self. They can be represented by themselves. They can go and get the unions to help them, MTUC, at the labor court. Now, these are some of the claims that workers can make at the labor court. Of course, termination benefit. If you terminate their contract, they don't want to claim for reinstatement, they can go to the labor court and claim for termination benefits. Of course, when they claim termination benefit, they cannot go to the industrial court again. Stop them from going there. They can claim also maternity benefits if you don't pay them. That's not good. Someone who gave birth should be given maternity benefits. Now, in Semenanjung, it has gone to 98 days. Sarawak, we are still using 60 days. So maybe in the future, it will go up to 98 days also, like what we have in Semenanjung, which will be enforced next year. Now, overtime payment, of course, if you don't pay them correctly, they can claim at the labor court. Sick leave pay, if they get sick and you don't pay them, then you have to pay them. Annual leave pay, public holiday pay, minimum wage. These are something very, very important also. Now, if you don't pay them according to the minimum wage, they can go to the labor court and claims the balance or the areas that you have not paid. Then the new one, this is actually not new, but I don't know whether you are familiar with this. Employees can also claim at the labor court if you terminate them because you think they are too old. That is because of age. You retired them earlier than what the age should be. What is the retirement age? 60, right? Minimum. Minimum retirement age is 60. You can have an optional retirement age, but that has to be agreed by both parties. So if you retired a person before he reached 60, he can go to the labor court and complains, isn't it? So not many people knows that. Fully. Okay, now going back to the termination benefit. If you terminate them, under the Labour Ordinance Sabah and Labour Ordinance Sarawak, these are the standard amount that you have to pay based on the years of service. If they have been working less than 2 years, you pay them 10 days wages for every year of service. That's not much. And if they've been working more than 2 years but less than 5 years, 15 days for every year of service. If they've been working more than 5 years, 20 days, years of year. Plus, not also, even you pay them this, they can still go to the Industrial Relations Department and complain again. So this doesn't stop that. You understand, huh? Okay? They go to the labor court and they claim for termination and they are benefit. Yeah? If they claim, okay, in case is settled, they cannot go to the industrial court, of course. But if you pay them outside there, let's say you make a deal with the worker, okay, we're going to terminate you now, this is what we pay, so you shouldn't be going further. If you, I mean, you're doing it outside, you're not doing it at the labor court. Then they can still go and complain to the Industrial Relations Department. It's a bit tricky. You know, if you want to know more, please contact me and I'll explain to you in detail how this is a bit complicated, but I can explain to you in details how it is done. The only thing I can say to you now is that this is what the law has said. If you want to terminate someone other than terminate under the contract, let's say fixed term contract finish or they terminate them, you retrench them, this is what you're supposed to pay. But once you pay that, they can still have their rights to claim for unfair dismissal under Section 20 because these are two different acts. One is under the Labour Ordinance and another one is under the Industrial Relations Act. Unless they've gone to the Labour Court and the case is settled at the Labour Court, of course, that will not, and then you settle the case at the Labour Court, for example. Of course, they cannot go further to the Industrial Court. It's a bit complicated. Now, never mind. Okay, this is how you should pay. You know, this is the formula. I think this is quite straightforward. I'm going to skip this. Okay, this is the representation just now which I spoke to you. Okay, on the retirement age. Now, I think everyone should know, right? Retirement age is 60. So you are not allowed to retire someone or to terminate the contract on the basis of age before he or she reaches 60 years old. Yeah. Now, of course, you can make an arrangement or an agreement with the workers. Okay, we set our optional retirement at the age of 55. Then you can, but it has to be agreed by both parties. Yeah. Okay, that doesn't stop you from doing so. But if you don't have this optional retirement, you have to wait until 60. Now, okay, for retirement age, it doesn't include non-performance and other disciplinary ground. Now, okay, now I said just now that someone who has been dismissed because the employer thinks that he's too old, but he's actually not old. He's not yet 60. Then he has the right to go to the Labour Department to file his case that he has been dismissed even by the company because the company thinks that he's too old and he's not yet 60, retired. So he cannot go and claim at the Industrial Relations Department. So he has to choose either one. Yeah? He has two choices, whether he wants to go to the Labour Department or he wants to go to the Industrial Relations Department. So he has to choose. If he goes to the Labour Department, he cannot go to the Industrial Relations Department. Okay, so now, what happens if he loses his case at the Labour Department? Before that, let's say Labour Department, he wins his case at the Labour Court. Then he cannot go further, of course. Then you will be asked to pay arrears. You will be asked to reinstate him again until he reaches 60. You have to employ him until he reaches 60. Or the Labour Department can order you to pay compensation instead. Suppose he loses his case at the Labour Department. Well, the worker can still go to the Industrial Relations Department and he has another 30 days. Even if the case goes for 1 year, for example. Because at the Industrial Relations Department, you have only 60 days from the date of the dismissal to file in your case. Yeah, but if you don't want to go to the Industrial Relations Department, you want to try your case at the Labour Court first, under this section, under this retirement age only. Yeah, there's only one option. Now you lose your case at the Labour Court. The worker, I'm talking about the worker. He can still go to the Industrial Relations Department even after 60 days. So his time, after 1 year, let's say he loses his case at the Labour Court, he can still go to the Industrial Relations Department and claim under unfair dismissal. Yeah. Now, you need to know this. Okay, that's it about the unfair dismissal. There are changes in the law and we will see more changes in future. And I hope that if you're interested to know more, you can come to my office and we can organize some kind of courses or engagement with the relevant department. But like Puan Hasrina said just now, being a member, there are benefits. There are a lot of benefits to being a member. Of course, one of them is every month we have session with you hybrid. Now in Kuching, we are doing it hybrid. Like yesterday we had a hybrid meeting. Some people come for physical meetings, some they are online. But I encourage you to come for physical once in a while so that you can network with your other HR, so that you can share your best practices. Some companies, they have better practices. You want to know what is their practices, because the law doesn't tell you everything. The law just gives you a general guideline, but the implementation, you have to come. And this implementation, usually you look at practices. So there's a chance for you to meet other members of MEF during the physical meeting. But if you think that you don't have enough, you are busy, you can still follow us on the online platform at the same time. So these are some of the sessions that we will have next year. So this is what we plan for Sarawak. And we are going to have people from the HRDC, Ilmu, from SOXO, of course from JTK, from NIOS. Again, from NOS, just now we're talking about self-regulations. Of course, from trade union, you need to know that. From Minimum Wage Council, and we'll also explain detail on Minimum Retirement Age Act, payment of wages by JTK, and SDG or ESG by UNIMAS. This is something very, very new. The same thing for Sabah. Currently, I'm also covering Sabah until we get a new consultant in Sabah. So I'm doing both for Sabah and Sarawak. For Sabah also, we are repeating the same content for Sabah. So these are the dates of our next year engagement with members. I wouldn't call it meeting, because meeting sounds so conventional. This is engagement with our members every month that we have, so that you keep updated of what are the changes in the law or policy or rules that government put in place. Yeah. So if you are interested, please sign up as a member, and these are some of the publication that we have. I think Puan Haslina has already mentioned, and you can come always at my office here in Jalan Petana. You can buy this book, but if you're a member, you get a cheaper price. If you're a non-member, you get a more expensive, a higher price, okay? Now, this is the office that we have in Kuching, so you're most welcome to attend our session if you're a member. If you're not a member, you want to come and have a look, please, you're most welcome also. Just give me a call and we'll make an arrangement to meet you. We have a small training room that accommodates for about 25 to 30 packs. And if you need to use the room, let us know. We can allow you to use our rooms, but of course, charge a very minimum price, Now, this is our office, and parking is free in front of this building. You don't need to pay any coupon. It's parking free all day. You can also park behind there undercover, and I think it's like a few dollars per day. Now, this is our offices, both in Sabah and in Sarawak. Yeah, and that's the end of my presentation today. Thank you so much. I'll pass it back to you, Chair Zakri.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zul. I think that was a very, very good presentation. And I hope the participants are very clear on the information that Dr. Zul is sharing with us today. So I think without further ado, we proceed to the question and answer session. We have about 15 minutes now. So I think we begin with the first one for Puan Haslina. So the question is, if I have 10 subsidiary companies, how should I register as member? Each subsidiary has around 10 to 15 staff. Puan Haja?
Ya, terima kasih moderator kepada yang bertanya soalan. If you can recap the thing that I mentioned tadi, the classes of membership for ordinary membership. Of course, the question is more towards how to join ataupun rope in your subsidiaries to be under group ordinary member. Yeah. Okay. Now, the condition is only if your subsidiaries HR functions, the functions are centralized to the holding company, meaning decision making, you've got to refer to the holding company. Okay, now, you may have 15 or 20 subsidiaries, tapi kalau your subsidiary memenuhi syarat tadi, you can opt to join by, okay, you count the head count for each of the subsidiary, yeah? Okay, maybe subsidiary 1 ada 5, subsidiary 2 ada 10, you campur semua sekali, and then you accumulate sekali the holding company punya number of workforce. Okay, so you total up. Kalau the total menjadikan maybe dalam 60 orang, and then you use the formula tadi, anyhow, it is subject to the minimum, which is 1,000 ringgit for companies having less than 100 persons. Okay. Kalau you accumulate all the workforce of the holding and the subsidiaries, dia punya number of workforce exceeds 100 persons, then you use the formula tadi ya, the first 110 ringgit, second 108 ringgit, the third 106 ringgit, after the first 300 is 1 ringgit seorang. Okay, now, jadi that is the amount you've got to pay considering that one is the annual subscription untuk 1 tahun. Okay, now, kalau kata ada changes in between, misalnya kata during the year, ada penambahan workforce ataupun pengurangan workforce, there's no need for you to inform us, okay? Only when you renew your subscription, then there is a number of employees that you report to us, okay? It is based on that. And okay, a very good question. The person who raised the question tadi, probably this is the time for you to join sebab kalau group, company untung. Because kalau katakan each subsidiary tadi, if you do not have group membership, each subsidiary kena join us individually. Jadi kalau even your subsidiary nak join us individual, dia ada 20 employees, dia still kena bayar 1,000. Okay? Tapi disebabkan headcount tadi tu semua accumulate, you save a lot. And then some more saving is the 500 waiver tu. Okay? So jangan lengah-lengah lagi. You can get the form from us ataupun you can download from our website. Okay? So I hope I've answered your question. Thank you.
I think Haja Hasina, there's another company here concern nak tanya pasal membership. So I think they were previous members. So I think they nak renew subscription.
Okay, dia macam
How
ini.
to renew?
Right. We are bound to our, we call it MEF constitutional rules. Okay, kita punya perlembagaan lah. Okay, now. Jadi in cases of company, kalau kata you miss to pay maybe setahun. For those yang tak bayar 2022, sila bayar sekarang. Okay, belum, you haven't missed anything yet. Okay, you can contact MEF membership. Yeah, the email MEF membership at mef.org.my ataupun you can call up the HQ 0379557778. Okay, ataupun tadi Dr. Zul dah wawarkan, alamat di Sabah dan Sarawak. You can call them, they can connect them to us. Okay, now. Jadi kalau kata, because we are bound to our rules, kalau katakan company tu miss ataupun having areas of 1 year, kata 2021 because of per MCO semua terlepas pandang nak bayar, okay? Our rules say that you will still have to pay the arrears, okay? Tapi apa-apa hal pun, GM with your permission, kita boleh bincang. Kita boleh bincang because we know ini semua undang-undang dibuat untuk safeguard. We do not want to have the case where you rasa you want our services, okay, you pay. You rasa, alamak, I'm not getting anything. I don't have any problem for the year. That's why I just refuse to pay. Tidak. Because our services are ongoing. Even without you contacting us, kita pula engage dengan you. Because kita bagi you circular, kita bagi you platform for meetings, kita bagi you platform for interaction via WhatsApp dan sebagainya. Everything's provided for. Cuma it's a matter of you approach us bila you perlukan dan kita, we will always make sure that we engage with our membership. Okay? Jadi for those of you yang you nak check whether your company sebenarnya jadi member ke belum, please contact us at the HQ. Satu. Yang rasa-rasa diorang terlepas pandang lah, maybe setahun dua tu ada belum tak bayar areas dan you takut because you kata, alamak, areas nak kena bayar banyak. No, I've got to inform, I kena convince dengan my management. Kita boleh bincang. You contact us at the HQ. Kita boleh, orang kata, whatever the case is, Cik Zakri, year end ni orang kata festive mood kan. Semua orang rasa macam nak ceria kan, nak gembira. Dr. Zul?
Christmas.
Yes, Christmas. Jadi, let's make it happen in which engagement with members, kami memerlukan members dan members juga memerlukan kami. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Haja Hasina. I think there's also another question. Macam mana nak beli buku? How do they purchase publications? So I think you can contact the same number yang tadi Haja Hasina, or you can contact Dr. Zul pun dekat Kuching, and any one of our consultants lah, doesn't matter where you are. If you just go to our website pun, you get in touch with us, then we will make sure that you can get a copy of our publication. So I think
if you're in Kuching, you can always come to our office. Cik Zakri, I would like to invite them. It's all being displayed in our bookshelf, so you can choose whatever book you like. It's a very good one. It's not an academic book. It's more a practitioner's book.
I think our books are very useful pasal diorang cakap ini macam cheat code for the employer kan. So one of the members mentioned to me macam cheat code for the employers. So I never thought of it like that. But then I think thinking back, yeah, it is like a easy in a nutshell punya solutions kan.
So it's not a theoretical book, it's a practitioner's book. So you can imagine the value of the book itself, the knowledge and the skills. Yeah.
Exactly, Dr. Zul. If I may, and just to add up, tadi we are talking about how useful our books are, because as I mentioned, it is practical, because it is not just a textbook, it is practical. And because the editors, the contributors to the books are actually our practitioners, our consultants. Okay, now, another thing that if I may share with you, being in membership for so long, this is some of the feedback which it is very, very good that I would like to highlight here. Because kalau kata there are macam announcements by the government kan, as I mentioned tadi, kita share with our membership quickly through circulars. Because I pernah receive feedback saying that a multinational company HR, dia approach me saying that, you know Puan, dia kata, my bosses, they are foreigners, okay? So, dia kata, kalau macam kata any announcements from the government, dia akan tunggu what MEF says. They are very confident with MEF. Because kalau kata apa, okay, what MEF say, what? Contohnya, Dato' Haji Samsudin announce in the press, in the media, that's the one that we follow. Okay, I mean, nak tunjukkan contoh bahawasanya how reliable MEF information to the private sector employees in the country. Okay, that's the one that I would like to add. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Haja. I think ni ada some questions on OSH for Tuan Haji Anis. So the minister has granted a license. The person to carry out inspection of any plant and issue a certificate of fitness in respect of the plant inspected, who will bear the inspection cost? Siapa bayar?
Company bayar.
Company bayar. Yalah, siapa lagi bayar kan?
Company bayar. Itu jawapannya.
So another one is, but can appoint one OSH coordinator for multiple workplaces or subsidiary companies? Are employers allowed to do that?
Tidak dibenarkan. Satu tempat, satu orang.
Oh, satu tempat. So kalau 10 tempat?
10 OSH coordinator lah, kalau lebih 5 orang lah, satu tempat.
So this is another quick one, I think, for OSH management system in OSH MP25 self-regulation. Is there mandatory to have ISO 45001, or do we still allowed to use other standards?
You are allowed to use any standard as long as you can prove to the authority you have a OSH management system. But the one that is being recognized worldwide is the 45,000.
I see. Okay. I think your slides will be shared. Can be shared kan, Tak Haji Anis?
Boleh.
I see. So there was a question on the slide. So if you need the slides, I think you can contact our viewer, send out. If you have submitted your registration with your email, we will send out the copies of the slide presentations. So if there are no more questions, ada lagi satu. My company, this is a feedback. Oh, very good feedback. Dia kata the company buat salary survey and it's very useful. And so they're asking a question on the base average salary. So I think these are some of the information that we are providing to employers to make your job easier. I think as I was about to say tadi, I think our services ni banyak HR practitioners dengan IR practitioners, they seek validation. So macam dia nak cakap boss ada a new thing that's come out, so they normally come to MEF to seek that very important validation. So with that, I thank you all three presenters and all the participants. We hope to see you soon, and we hope to include you as a member of MEF and join the MEF family. I dah lama dekat sini, so what they describe for MEF from my predecessors is that we are a friendly organization and an organization of friends. So I think this is the spirit that we should embrace. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you semua.